All right. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Friday, the market is closed. A little bit better day today. Welcome to Talkin Investing. I'm Tom. I'm here with George. Hello, George.
Hey guys.
George is fast at work. A lot to go through, a crazy week. We ended on a little bit higher note. We did an impromptu live stream yesterday because yesterday was looking bad and it seemed like we were moving in the wrong direction. We'll talk about what happened today. Going to talk more about HUT 8, the short report, some more information. What else went on? A bunch of, obviously, the Bitcoin ETFs is going on. And I want to show you what's happened to the Bitcoin miners in the last, I think it's now up to 16 or 17 trading days. It's been pretty wild, and we'll talk about where we think it's going from here. So all kinds of stuff. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to all of the subscribers. Welcome especially to all of the members. I see a lot of members in the chat. And welcome to everybody else. If you're new here, welcome. If everybody could do us a big favor and smash the like button. It helps the stream out in real time quite a bit, so we really appreciate it. It spreads the stream. It gets more people on the stream. And we got to talk about this stuff, and we got to get people here talking with us. So it's much appreciated. Let me get the chart up. I got to get onto the right. There we go. All right. So you can see there's some green candles for once here since yesterday. So I'll just start out with the fact that this gold line is where we were when the equity markets closed yesterday. The U.S. equity markets closed, and this is where Bitcoin was. So you can see it was right at the very bottom of many, many hours. Since from market open to market close, we were down in a straight line yesterday. But as it turns out, we kind of bottomed out. And yes, we did actually get a little bit lower in the middle of the trading day today. So once again, as is always seems to be the case, somewhere just around. So here's, this is right before the market opened today. Boom, a big move to the downside. This is when the market opened yesterday. Gigantic move down all day. So George and I have always talked about the fact that for whatever reason, right before both 9 o'clock Eastern time. So for, we're on the East Coast of the U.S., so it's 9 o'clock for us. Particularly for me in the mornings, right before or right at the open of the equity markets, Bitcoin tends to have bigger moves. Now, at least there's some line of reasoning for that because the Bitcoin ETFs only trade, when the market's open. And that does affect the price of Bitcoin at, the supply and the demand, all that kind of stuff. So at least there's now some line of reasoning. Why that's always been the case in the past is a little mystery. Oh, I'm getting, I think it went away. We had a little feedback for a second.
That was me, sorry.
Minor feedback.
I'm messing with you, Tom, sorry.
That's no problem. All right, so 53 likes. If everybody could please help us and smash the like button. It is free, and it helps the stream a lot in real time. And it helps the channel. We are a growing channel. I was talking to George last night. We're just under 19,000, so we're shooting for 20,000. We've been going at this. We're going on 3 years now. For those of you who are new, or for those of you who've been here all along, thanks for taking the journey. But we've been doing this for a while now, so we're really looking forward to getting to 20,000 subscribers. So, not only smash the like button, if you are interested in Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners and you enjoy the channel, consider subscribing. Obviously, that is free as well. We have a poll already in progress. It started before the stream, and at the moment that I'm looking at it, we are at exactly 50-50 on the poll. Is the bottom in for Bitcoin right now at 123 votes? We're at exactly 50-50. So feel free to chime in on the vote as well. That too is free.
I'm sorry, Tom.
What's happening? What's happening on your end?
Again? Did that mess you up again? Sorry.
No.
Oh, good. Tom, there's some big news you got, huh? I guess we should save that for a little bit here.
Ah,
Big news coming up in the stream.
we got big
Big,
news. Big.
big news.
Yes, maybe in 15 minutes we'll launch our news. Let's get some people in here. Let's get the group going.
Yeah, this big news.
Monster.
Tom, yeah, you know what? That is a good. Kay has a really good question, Tom. Who are you? What's your background? Who are you? And what
Who
is your background?
who am I? All right. So, well, thank you, Kay, for the question, and thank you. Kay is a member as well. So, just a little bit about myself. Some of you may know this, but if you're new here and you haven't heard me talk about this, my background, I have a background in accounting. I spent the first portion of my career in public accounting at what is now PricewaterhouseCoopers. At when I was there, it was Coopers and Lybrand just agreeing to a merger as I was leaving. So, that was the beginning of my career. So I spent 6 years in auditing. And, with one of the larger firms like that, I got a lot of access and exposure to a lot of different industries and, a lot of financial statements. And depending, from the small firms to the big firms, by the time you're at the, 6 years into public accounting, you're deeply involved in I don't want to say generating. Technically, it's the client's responsibility to generate the financial statements, wink, wink. But, as the auditors reviewing and making, we're opining on the accuracy of the financial statements. And obviously, ultimately, it's the partner that will sign the audit report. But it's our job to go do an audit, dig into these companies. And so, I've gotten a look under the hood, if you will, of, hundreds and hundreds of companies while I was an auditor. And, so I did leave public accounting. I went into the private industry, is what most people end up doing. And so I spent a lot of years in private industry, running either as, chief financial officer of private companies, a lot of time in operations as well. And all the while, always very interested in looking at publicly traded companies, reading financial statements. I don't want to call it a hobby, but I have always kept up on, people's financial statements. So as I come at this maybe a little bit different than most other YouTubers, for me, if I'm investing in a company, it's I start, if I'm doing my due diligence, forget investing, I start by reading the financial statements cover to cover. So, the 10Qs, the 10Ks, all the footnotes, management's discussion. I mean, there's an awful lot of information in there. And I will tell you, the more, and there's been an awful lot of changes in accounting. You would not think that that is true, but the way that things are accounted for and the way that things are disclosed has changed drastically over the years. So, I've tried to keep up on that. And I do think they're making it, I don't want to say it's intentional. I don't know. I don't understand why, but there's no question in my mind that it's growing ever increasingly more difficult to get to what's actually going on with a business by glancing at the financial statements. So, that's where I spend a lot of my time. So my background's in accounting. I've done, I spent a lot of time in the construction industry, land development, that kind of stuff. So, I've seen a lot of things. Not a young man anymore, although I don't think we're old yet. So that's kind of what I've done over the years, and that's where my background is. And my degree's in accounting, and I was a CPA, so I'm not a CPA anymore. That's the way that works. If you don't keep your license active and you're not practicing, then you're technically not a CPA. So I was a CPA, and I was in public accounting.
Well, you're not anymore, you bastard.
Listen, it's a very different, I have family members that have carried on the tradition, and I see, so I'm in touch with it, and I have friends from the firm, but it's just not that piece of the puzzle is not my thing anymore. but I was very valuable. I appreciate the time I spent in there. I think, it was a gigantic education, in my opinion, much more so than, anything I learned in school.
And I'm just an idiot, just so you guys know. I just sit here to help Tom out, try to make him look good. He gets the dumbest person next to him, so, you know, oh well.
So that is, George is being self-deprecating, but that is not true, George. George,
I'm an
later you
idiot.
can tell
I don't
everybody.
know. I don't know. Being invested in these miners right now, these Bitcoin miners, I think
Listen,
I'm an idiot. I'm
so,
sorry, Tom. Let's bring it back to where everybody wants to know.
some days we definitely might all feel like an idiot as investors. Some days are better than others. Let's just put it that way. So I'm not a fight, as you guys may be sick of hearing me say, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. We just dig in. We do our due diligence and try and share information with you guys. And we've been doing this for a while now,
3
and
years. Yeah.
3 years, and
Isn't that crazy?
well over 1,000 videos, not including live streams. So, we've been working hard trying to get information out there in the best way that we know how.
So, Tom, who was your biggest disappointment this week?
Hmm. I think I know what you want me to say.
No, I just want to know who was your biggest disappointment.
I mean, the stock that performed by far the worst was Hut 8. We're going to definitely get into. I have two specific things I want to talk about in the short. I'm not going to read the entire short report. And by that, I don't mean I'm not personally going to read it. I've personally read it. I'm not going to sit here and read it to you guys on air. I don't think it warrants going through line by line. I do want to point out two specific things. So remind me later. I want to make sure to get to that. I want to wait till everybody gets here, but I want to talk about two specific things, and I think it goes to the nature of this short report. Obviously, this is my personal opinion, but I feel strongly, and when I see stuff like this, I look for red flags. So, they're purporting to be, an advocate for investors, and so, they're yet I'm going to show you two things that give me pause as to the nature of what's really going on in their short report. My personal opinion, although the two things I show you aren't an opinion, I'm going to show you two specific things. So Hut was a tough one. I will tell you, Riot, I know a lot of people are frustrated with Riot. The price action on Riot is not great. We can look at Riot's chart. If you want to do that right now, we can do that. I think Riot's set up for a nice run. And I know they have lagged a little bit behind, but they're from a technical standpoint, I think they're in a really good spot to start a nice run. I will say, I think the next three-ish...
Guys, just so you know, he said that also at like $20-ish.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tom.
Hey, listen, that's exactly how this goes.
That's why this is not financial advice.
That's right. This is, and I do, even at $20, I thought it was a good investment then. I was dollar cost averaging in at $4. Right. I was dollar cost averaging in at $20, and I'm dollar cost averaging in at $10. So because, for me, we talk about this all. First, I want to take a break and just mention thank you to Cleanspark to 100 for your super chat. Very generous. And Cleanspark to 100 said yesterday at the Needham Growth Conference, Matthew Schultz confirmed Cleanspark will start to energize the 6 exahash rigs first week of February to reach 16 exahash by the end of February. End of 2024 should have reached 32 exahash. So that's huge news. And as you guys may or may not know, those of you who've been here for a while, Cleanspark is now my largest position out of the Bitcoin miners. It's actually my largest position altogether. Bitfarms is not far behind. Those two are standouts. And Cleanspark's gotten it's gotten crushed. So I didn't sell so that you guys know, I mean, that's just me, not financial advice. But I talk about how I'm buy and hold. I'm a long-term investor. My price target for all of these companies is many multiples. And by all of them, I mean all the ones I'm invested in. I will say, I do think there will be winners and there will be losers. So this is not an across the board, everything's going to 100x. But, I think the winners are going to be many multiples higher than they are right now. But I'll show you a chart of what everything's done in the last 2.5 weeks. And they've all gotten devastated, including CleanSpark, which is down, somewhere in the magnitude of 50% in, a less than a 3-week period of time. But that's not an outlier. They're all down in that neighborhood. So, I got crushed on that. So, all you can do is wait. There are other positions that I have that are much smaller that I was actually, so I bought a lot more of some of my smaller positions trying to build them out. I try to stay diversified, even though I have a heavy concentration. I have a disproportionate amount of my portfolio in Bitcoin related things. So I at least try to diversify that because you never know with any one company. If you're in just one thing and something unforeseen goes wrong, then, you have not spread your risk. So just from a risk management spread point, I like to be involved in more than one company. I think there's a lot of good opportunities here. So yeah, thank you. Thank you, CleanSpark to 100. That's very encouraging. And I have been saying, I think is absolutely crucial that CleanSpark gets to 16 exahash as soon as they possibly can prior to the halving, because every day that they were at 10.08 exahash. So this is a massive, massive increase in their operations. And every day that they can run that prior to the halving is going to allow them to put, incremental Bitcoin on their balance sheet. They are increasing their hodl position. So, I that bodes very well for them, in my opinion. It's one of the reasons, the increase in their hodl position, strength of balance sheet, operationally, I think they're a great company. So these are all my personal opinions. And I do deep dives on, my next deep dive is going to be on CleanSpark. So I just did one on Riot and Marathon over the last week and a half. If you want to check those out, I try to go through everything that's going on with them. CleanSpark's my next one. So it's encouraging to see them jumping to 16 exahash. I know they're going to go to 16, then to 20. They've got machines purchased to 32. And so, if they can get there by the end of 2024, then really they'll be mining more Bitcoin. If they can get to 32 exahash, it's highly likely they'll actually be mining more Bitcoin in the fourth quarter of 2024 after the halving than they did in the fourth quarter of 2023, because effectively they will have more than tripled their exahash. So, time will tell. And, there's other variables involved in that, one of which is, the difficulty level, and the increase in the amount of exahash on the global network, resulting in increase in difficulty level. And I'm going to, I'll just take a 10-second break to show you something, because we do have something that's a little uncommon going on. All right, this is a chart of every 2 weeks, effectively, there's an adjustment to the difficulty level in mining a Bitcoin. So, if blocks are getting solved on the average in that 2-week period in less than 10 minutes, then they make it more difficult. They increase the difficulty level. If it's taking more than 10 minutes, then they decrease the difficulty level. So you'll see, if you go back, these are the recent changes in order, chronologically going backwards. So you're going to see, the most recent one was 1.6%, 7% up. Then we did have down almost 1%, but then, green, 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 green. The difficulty level has been accelerating to the upside. So I just want to show you, this right now is the estimate as of today of, we are now very, very close to, block 826,560 is the next change. So we're very close. Maybe tomorrow this will happen. This entire block, we've been red. And, early on, I said, well, that probably won't hold up. These usually correct themselves, and the difficulty level's been increasing. But it does look like we're getting very close to the end here. We may have a nice little decrease in the difficulty level. And the significance of that is, in theory, taking luck out of the equation, each individual Bitcoin miner, with the amount of exahash that you have, you should be able to mine more Bitcoin per exahash. So possibly here another little bonus in the month of January and then the beginning of February before the next adjustment. There may be a decrease in the difficulty level, which, as you can see from the chart I showed you, has been fairly uncommon over the last 6 months. The difficulty level has more than doubled in the last year. We're at 73 trillion right now as of January 15th. So, if you go so if you go to January 15th, 2023 was at 37. So, that's essentially a double in 1 year. So that's a massive, so effectively that's the exact same impact as the halving's going to be. So we've already experienced that, and now we're going into the halving. Now, where the difference is going to be, a lot of these companies have announced massive purchases of new machines that are much more energy efficient than the machines that they're using. So that's going to be a part of what compensates for this and allows these companies to maintain some profitability on a going forward basis. Let's go back to the chart. Also, if everybody could please smash the like button, we would appreciate it. It helps the stream. We have 128 likes. We're going for, lately we've been getting up to 500 likes. So if you guys would be so kind as to smash the like button, it would be much appreciated.
I started a new poll, by the way.
Aha, we got a new poll.
Oh, that's nice. I get to be in Discord under your name. Under YouTube, it looks like you're writing this. Nice.
Wait a second.
That's awesome.
That's wrong. So I now have to disavow everything. Are you saying that it looks like me? You look like me now in Discord?
No, not in Discord. In the chat right now.
Oh. I was seeing you in the chat, though.
No, I know. I got 2 different windows opened up.
Oh, boy.
It was 55-45. 55 think we're going lower, by the way, on Bitcoin.
That was the final?
Yeah.
All right, Darren, thank you very much for the super chat. Darren is a member. Much appreciated. Tom, we're going to play a game of poker. You get always folds Riot and their cash. I'll take always performing Wolf and their smaller cash. At the end of the match, I'll own all your money because Riot just don't perform. So if you watch my deep dive, I do talk about this so that, Darren, I don't disagree with you. Riot's operational performance in 2023 was a big sticking point with me. And there's 1 or 2 other things that concern me with them. Now, Darren pointed out the other side of this is they do have a giant stack of cash. They have excellent liquidity. They have 0 debt and, so super strong balance sheet. So that's great in a crypto winter so that you don't go out of business. But we're moving from a crypto spring, hopefully here, into a crypto summer. And we want to see companies perform. So I agree. I think they're on the block right now. They need to do better. They need to have better operational performance. We need to see that number of Bitcoin mined per exahash increase, and ultimately, because energy is a big part of their thing. So in the summer months, they got monumental amounts of energy credits. However, going into these next months, I'm not sure how much energy credits they're going to get. And the last few months, it was negligible. It was next to 0, which makes sense because, it was it was that middle weather that's, it's not too hot, not too cold. Right. There was no additional demand on the grid in Texas. So in the summer months is when they will get most of these energy credits. Texas has been known to have problems in the winter. So that, there could be some months where they get that as well. But, we're really not here to invest in energy companies. I will take the credits. I think it does help reduce their overall cost per coin and helps their profitability. But what I really want to see from Riot, just like all of these companies, over a year ago, I pretty much stated, and I guess this is true of every investment. First of all, you want to see them be cash flow positive, right? These are maturing companies at the beginning of companies' lives when they're in huge capex situations and they haven't flushed out all their streams of revenue. They may be cash flow negative from operations. So we want to see them cash flow positive. We want which Riot is, and we want to see them positive EBITDA, but ultimately we want to see them with GAAP net income. So we want to see their financial statements showing profits. So I would like to see that in 2024. That's going to be my expectation. Now, in the first 2 quarters of 2024, well, not really the first quarter, in the second quarter, when the halving hits, it's going to get tricky for these companies. So they're going to have at least 1, if not 2 quarters of financial statements where all of a sudden maybe everybody goes backwards a little bit. But comparatively speaking, I'd like to see them start to move into the middle of the group anyway, if not the top of the group from a performance standpoint. Let's at least get out of the basement. So I know there's issues with Riot. I'm waiting to see. There's a lot of positives and a lot of question marks with Riot. So to me, they're a very safe play because of their strength of balance sheet. But, low risk sometimes equals low reward. I'm hoping that, this is some lower risk and it ends up being a higher reward, but only time will tell on that. I am worried about TeraWulf on the other side of the equation. So I'm not worried about them going out of business so much. So, I think with the increase in their market cap now, everybody, including TeraWulf's market cap, just got beat up badly. But I do think TeraWulf's going to find their way out. But they had $140 million of debt in their last report. They did talk about the fact that they expect, prior to the halving, they expect to pay off $40 million of that, but that will still leave them with $100 million of debt. So that is some substantial debt that is going to be a little bit of a weight that drags them down, in my opinion. So I don't know. We'll see. I hope they both succeed. I hope all these companies succeed, but, they're not all going to succeed, in my opinion. I do think there's several, and I did share, so that you guys know with the members, I did share a list of companies that I think are potentially going to have a problem going into the halving. So I am going to share with everybody my list of top 10 Bitcoin miners for 2024, and I will get that out within the next week. It's already late, but I'm almost glad I've waited because I have my top 10, and that's not going to change. And I have 2 groups of 5, a top 5 and then a second 5, and I'm just finalizing some positions inside of there. So I will get that out, so you guys can expect that. That'll be its own video. But there's companies that I'll just show you what my criteria was anyway. I don't like to spread negativity and FUD and all that stuff. And I'm not looking to contribute to any of these companies. Obviously, we're a tiny little company a tiny little channel, and we really have no impact on anything. But having said that, I don't want to give this negative list. But what I will tell you is this. These are the 4 main things that I was looking for. As I go through and as you guys go through, you may want to consider these 4 things. If the Bitcoin mining company or any company, if they have a negative current ratio, in other words, if they have more current liabilities than current assets, that's a company that has an imminent problem. Now, there's some companies that can make do with that for years if it's close and they find a way to cash flow, but that's a concern. So negative current ratio, and some of the Bitcoin miners, if you have 1.5 times as many current liabilities as current assets, it depends on the nature of those current liabilities. Some of them are, different types of non-cash even. So But some of these have 3 or 4 or 5 times as many current liabilities as current assets. That's a problem. The second thing I looked for was companies with a massive amount of long-term debt. Right now, debt for these Bitcoin miners is a big, big problem. And I think post-halving is going to be an even bigger problem. It's a twofold problem because you've got to pay interest on that debt. So when cash is tight, remember the reward for all these companies is going to get cut in half. I know some of you will talk about the fact that technically their production probably won't get cut in half because the fees don't go away, and the fees are becoming more and more important part of the equation. It's still early on, but they are growing in importance. Just a few months ago, the fees were totally insignificant. They've grown. If they stay at this pace, that may really soften the blow of the halving to a certain extent. You know, it's still going to be a significant decrease in production for all these companies, but that is a mitigating factor. So, you know, from a long-term debt standpoint, with less cash coming in, you've got to pay the interest and you've got to pay the principal. Now, some of these companies have deferred some of those principal payments, but by the end of 2024, all of these companies will be owing principal on their long-term debt. Then I look at companies that are just straight up negative cash flow, meaning on a monthly basis, their gross profit from operations don't even pay for their overhead and their interest, right? To me, that's the worst one of them all. So there are several Bitcoin miners that's true for before the halving. So after, if they're not cash flow positive before the halving, chances are they, unlikely they're going to get there in the 3 to 6 months after the halving. Unless obviously the caveat to all this is if Bitcoin all of a sudden runs from 40,000 to 100,000, that changes the equation of everything. But, I don't think that's going to happen in April. I'm not expecting that. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I am expecting a very bullish year for Bitcoin in 2024, but not that bullish. And then the last thing I looked for is there's what's called a going concern. Many of you may be familiar with. Essentially, that means that upon the most recent audit, so the 10K, the annual audit, the auditors could not give what's called an unqualified opinion. In other words, meaning that the financial statements represent fairly the position of the company. They have to give a caveat that says there's reasonable doubt as to the company's ability to survive over the next 12 months. So, if an auditor's looking at the financial statements saying, we have reasonable doubt that they can even survive the next 12 months. And then you can look at the footnotes just for your information. If you want to do this due diligence yourself, typically, if there's a going concern, they will address it in footnote 1. That doesn't have to be, but it's typically in footnote 1. They will go into a lengthy discussion on liquidity and oftentimes reiterate the same thing. Management will usually say they have the same concern. They're not sure they can make it through the year. And then, of course, in management's discussion, they'll talk even more about that. So those are the 4 things, the 4 big giant things that I look for. If a company has 2 or 3 or 4 of these things happening simultaneously, I start to get worried about their ability to survive. So that's it. I'll move on from that. But I do think it's worth letting people know, there are Bitcoin mining companies that have 3 or 4 of these things going on. So to me, those are companies that I'm not investing in.
Well, the poll, we ended it and went on to another one, Tom. Best Bitcoin miner to invest in is, by our 178 votes, was CleanSpark at 43, Marathon at 33, Bitfarm at 13, and in last place, HUT.
Oh, you put HUT on the list?
I figured why not.
Hey, 9% of the people said HUT. 9%. I'm just seeing that right now. That's a surprising result to me, actually.
So, are we ready to talk about HUT?
Let's talk about HUT.
I think it's a good time to talk about HUT.
Let's do it. Okay, so...
just so you know, I'm not allowed in this interview, but go on.
Oh, you're going to lead with that? Okay, so we are going to have Sue on the channel next week. So we set up an interview. I don't know if I'm going to get it posted. I'm hoping to get it posted Tuesday night. So Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, if everything goes according to plan. Hut put out, I'll show you. So the story starts, there was a short report put out. I think it was yesterday. And, Hut got decimated on that short report. Their stock did. They put out a very brief response today. It wasn't even really a response. It was more just something saying that they would be putting out a response effectively. But, they wanted to let people, and I'll go through, I will read that. It's one paragraph. It's super quick. So, I did reach out to Sue to see if there was anything, information that she could give us, knowing she really can't tell us anything. She can't tell any one person something that she can't tell the world. That's how it works. So, but I wanted to know, can we expect a response from you guys at some point sooner than later? So she did say yes. And now today we got part 1 of that, and they're going to put out something more comprehensive. So I'm hoping by Tuesday, we'll have a little more substantive talk about what was in that short report and what their response to it is. So, we'll talk about it and we'll see what she has to say.
Yeah, Eric had the best statement right there. What are the assets of the merger? And they had to fill out some type of form, right, with the SEC
Yes.
to come up with a sham number. I mean, to come up with the number. Sorry, it just slipped out.
We're going to get really, and I've been saying this, I mean, until they put out we need to see how they operate. We need to see I shouldn't say we. That's what I need to see. And I will tell you, I do have a small position in Hut. On that pullback, I added to my position. That is not financial advice. I am certainly not telling anybody to buy Hut. I think, there is a short report. If you're considering investing, you probably want to read it and decide for yourself. Is there some validity in this, or is this nonsense? Or, you can make up your own mind on that. And then, I think it seems like shortly we will get a more comprehensive response from Hut as to what that is. To me, what I've always said, the one thing in my opinion that's a legitimate question mark is, this was a merger of equals.
Bingo.
And, was that a fair value to put on this?
And what was it at the time? Do you remember?
They were, at the time of the announcement, it was $495 million. I believe. You guys can double check me on that. But that's what I remember. Something in the neighborhood of $495 million.
So here's what I'm worried about, Tom.
Yes.
They have to find $495,000. I know a lot of it's probably goodwill, but someone's going to get sued here soon.
I will tell you, I will tell you this, and this is not, this is not, all condemnation of the company that put out this short report, but I did find an instance where they put out a short report and they were actually forced to go and give a public apology for the report that they put out and for any damages that it may have caused. A court ruled that they had to publicly apologize for.
Here's my question, Tom. How many reports have they done in order? You see what I mean? I mean, they've done 4 and they had to complain about 1, or have a take back in 1, or did they complain about 5,000 and had to? You see what I mean?
Well, I don't know the answer to either of those questions. I still, this just happened yesterday, so there's a lot more to uncover. But I will say I read the report, and I'm going to talk about a few things in it. I don't like the report. I'll just tell you. That's my personal opinion. It's 45 pages long. What they had to say, what they had to allege, to me, could have been a 2 or 3 or 4 page report. If it was 10, okay, it's 10. Much of the information that was in there, in my opinion, this is my opinion, was superfluous at best, and that's being kind. A lot of it was, I think, nonsense, misdirection, petty, very petty things that don't really speak to the investability of, the company. So, why all the extra stuff? And I'll show you a little bit of what I'm talking about. I don't want to give them too much attention. You guys are all, if you're investing in HUT, then you should read the report. Right? I mean, you may find some things in there that you find disturbing and that you think are a reason not to invest, right? Not everybody has to invest in every stock in the stock market. So, and you can see the stock got tanked yesterday. The real Gary Ginsler,
Right.
thank you, who is a member, said, I would rather have Spirit Airlines than HUT. Wow.
That's funny. Tom,
Yes.
did you look at the report for HUT? Did you look at that for the merger?
Yes.
And how did it break down their assets of their $495 million?
Here's the thing. When you buy, so you're not going to be able to round up they didn't have equity. Right? If you look at their balance sheet, they didn't have equity of $495 million. But if you look, there's no merger in history. And of course, if you want, you can find an exception to this. But when companies are bought out or merge, they never trade at their book value. Book value has very little to do with a company's worth. So a company's worth is very subjective. So what every individual investor has to decide is, based on the assets they have, the synergies the two companies have together, are they better together than separately? And if so, was that a fair price to pay? I will tell you, the one question that I have, I do think these two companies were a great fit. They are much better merged than not merged. What I would say is, it's a fair question to ask, was that a fair price to merge at, right? Was that a fair price? Did they overpay to do this? And if the answer is yes, what period of time is it going to take? What do they need to do, and what period of time is it going to take to get past that and have this be a net positive? And if you think the answer is that's never going to happen, then it's not a good investment.
What's that website you go to where when insiders that have to report their whatever?
I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about, when they have to report their buying of the stocks? There's a website. They go, you know what I mean?
I don't.
Come on, you guys gave it to us like 2 weeks ago because something broke.
Well, somebody drop it in the chat. I mean, I know when the insiders.
I want to see, those guys should be buying.
I doubt they're buying.
Why?
Well,
if you're would that make it look bad?
No, it wouldn't make it look bad. It's just very rare for.
So why would you say I doubt they're buying if they believe so much in their company and they think?
The reason that I doubt they're buying is, a very, very, very small percentage of management is buying large quantities of their stock. Most management is the reverse. They're getting paid in stock. So
at a discount?
Well, no, they get paid you get paid compensation in stock. So, you're getting stock that way. You're not buying necessarily. Now, there are examples, right? I think the owner of TeraWulf
I was just going to say
was buying their stock.
Right.
So there's certainly examples where it happens, but it's more the exception than it is the rule, right? You can see Michael Saylor's been selling stock almost, already 3-4 times this year. Does that mean that, MicroStrategy is a bad company and he has no confidence in their company? Well, no, it's much more typical for, it's radically more typical for owners to sell stock of their company than to buy stock of their company.
How much cash do they have?
That company was cash strapped. In fact, they had debt. So that company.
How much cash did HUT have?
I would have to look and see on the financials. Okay. They had a lot of liquidity. Most of their liquidity was in their stack of Bitcoin. They have the second largest stack of Bitcoin of any publicly traded company. They have over 9,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So, obviously, whatever Bitcoin's trading for dictates how much liquidity that is. Some of their Bitcoin has now been pledged as collateral against the debt of New Hut, which is just Hut. So, I mean, there were pros and cons to this, and some people might not like this deal at all. And I'm not here pitching Hut this is never financial advice, and I'll never tell anybody to buy a stock or sell a stock. That's only you guys can decide. As you know, only you guys can decide whether you want to buy or sell a stock. So,
are you saying sock?
Stock. A stock.
Okay.
Or socks. If you want to buy
socks.
socks, you can, that's your decision as well. Scott Richardson, thanks for the super chat. Hut has destroyed all investor confidence. If Jamie or Sue buy about 500,000 shares, I'll get back in.
Wow. Did you see, though, on the 12th, Jamie sold at $10.10.
So that was not the high. That was right about the midpoint. So let's pull up Hut's chart.
The report came out on the 18th.
And remember, most of these executives, when they sell, it's scheduled sales. It's not, they just don't randomly wake up one day and there's SEC regulations around that. So, and that was a big thing. Remember when Michael Saylor was recently selling, and I just mentioned this, everybody was like, oh, he's bailing out. It's like, no, he told everybody on the conference call well in advance that he was going to be selling that stock for tax purposes and to buy Bitcoin, which is what he said he did with it.
I can tell you one thing, though. We should be like crisis managers for freaking Bitcoin miners. Because, I mean, they did exactly what you shouldn't do. Like, they're running and hiding, and, like, it's ridiculous.
You think that Hut is running and hiding?
Tom, they got one. Calvin just said it. They got one little, tiny little, well, we're going to talk about it.
Okay, well, it's been one day.
It's
right?
very fluid, Tom.
It's a 40.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care if he can't golf today. That doesn't bother me any. It takes one guy. Hang on. I'm going to tell you something. If it's important, Jamie can stop golfing or stop doing whatever she does and go almost point by point to explain to why they did the deal and why it's still good. You get on channels like yours ASAP. You get on Fox News. You get on Fox whatever. You know what I mean? Or CNN or whatever. MSN. Who cares? You get in front of this stuff quick.
They are coming on the channel on Tuesday, so that's only a few business days after this happened. And I know. Listen, I know from personal.
She's a potsy.
I don't know what that means.
She's just a sacrificial lamb in this game. You know what I mean? I mean, I love her. Don't get me wrong. Hope she's not watching. I'm gonna get a phone call here. Hang on a second. Hang on. Hello?
Let me get. Hold on, Darren. Let me get to Darren. Darren said a poll. Who cares about Hut? Nobody.
Yeah, I know. That's true.
Well, let's do a poll and see, because if nobody cares, we won't talk about it. But somebody cared because they traded massive amount of shares. But can you do that poll? Let's see if we're talking about something that nobody cares about. That's a good question. Calvin, who's been a member for 6 months. Thank you, Calvin, for your membership. Leverton and Ennis post consistently on X. They watched investors bleed yesterday with no comment, only one BS tweet at midnight. No action is an action. So, okay, right. You guys feel like they were either slow to respond or non-responsive to this short report. Having read a lot of short reports, I can tell you I've never seen anybody respond in less than 1 day to a short report. This is a 45-page report. Let me put it this way. When I do a video, it usually takes me a week or 2 weeks to compile the information. And these are companies that I've done nothing but study, every day for 3, 4, 5, some of them 5 years now. So, it's not so, if you want to have a coherent argument, you don't want to just flippantly run out there and go, those guys are bad and we're,
Well, no, 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 no. Wait a second. Wait a second. Did you just say coherent argument? When you
yes.
just told me that this is a short report, Tom, this is the stuff that really pisses me off in investing, okay? You just
Yes.
told me that this is a short report that's complete and utter garbage.
No, I didn't say
So,
that.
no, but I know, but that's what everybody's alluding to. That's what her little tweet was, and that's what everybody's saying. What they're
All right.
Every minute it takes before you get a really good response is showing that there's some merit to it. And that's the problem I have. There's some merit to some of the things they said. There's some things that they didn't do their due diligence on that they should have done their due diligence on. And I mean, I'm not saying it's not a bad buy. It might be the best buy of the century right now. But like just talking about the Niagara thing for an example. I
Go
mean,
ahead.
what did they market? What did they market up to, and what did they purchase it at? These are things that we gotta, I mean, why do you all of a sudden buy something that's worth, let's say, 20 million? You buy it for $20 million, and now it's worth $120 million. I don't know the numbers, and I have no idea. But I'm just saying, for an example, that's what it alluded to in the report.
That what? Can you be, because I
That
was a little
that
unclear.
Niagara, that the Niagara facility that they purchased in New York, that they marked up the valuation of that building. So that
That
they
they've what?
basically
Marked
they
it up on
bought.
their books?
Yeah,
Marked it up
yeah,
where? Because, I
yeah.
mean,
So they
on
bought
your
it for.
books, you can only mark it at whatever you paid for.
Well, then no, that's not true. When you go into Goodwill and you just say the company's worth $495 million, they're saying that was worth more money, and that was one of the things that they had an issue with. I'm just explaining to you how I look at it.
And that's fair. I think it sounds like you feel like the short report had some valid key points and that
Yeah,
there's
some
some
valid.
issues with.
And I think that but what I'm saying is, if you do stuff like this and you really get into, investing, right? And they should know the answers to each one of these things. And that's why I'm kind of worried about. I mean, I don't know if it took me down the path and now I agree with what the short report wrote, but I've read short reports and most of them are just complete and utter BS. You know what I mean?
Have you ever seen a company within 24 hours come out with a comprehensive response to a short report?
Never once.
So why do you think that they're failing when they're doing the
That
exact
you
same
could
thing that every other company has ever done?
I think that you could do this. You could come out with this report that was utter garbage, or say something
Well,
on X. We're very fluid now.
we'll
The whole
read what
world's
they had to
fluid.
say. Anthony, thank you for the super chat. Anthony said,
Yes,
George, you let the weak hands get out.
I
So
agree
Anthony,
with that statement. By the way, hey, and listen, I was an investor in HUD. Only reason I got out of HUD, and I thank you God for this, is because I was upside down. I was into my margin, and I was just like, man, it's too volatile to be in my margin right now. So I sold it. Sorry.
so we're pretty much 50-50. About half the people care about HUT and half the people don't care about HUT. And that makes sense. Not everybody's invested in HUT. So we're not going to spend the entire stream just talking about HUT, but I will. So we'll circle back around to this. I'll give you the two things in the report that I took exception to that I do think are an indicator to me as to maybe the slanted uh bias or nature that these people may have had when writing the report. And really, that's why I invited Sue on because it doesn't matter what I think. George let you know what he thinks, and everybody has their own opinion, and we'll see what Sue has to say, and then ultimately, everybody all right has to make their own investment decision. So I don't know, right? There's an awful lot of Bitcoin miners to choose from. So if you don't like hot, then I think there's plenty you can pick from. All right,
Yeah,
Anthony,
yeah,
thanks
yeah.
for the super chat. Many deals with big players recently. Are you talking about in general with Bitcoin miners or in specific with hot? Let us know.
Did you read what she wrote? Her little Big Susie wrote
So let's go. I have their
what she said.
All right. So I have this up because this is their independent auditor. So one of the things that the report did was slam their auditors from years gone back. And I just, to me, that's the kind of stuff, like, I don't care who audited their, how they went public many, many years ago, who their auditor was a long time ago. I just, this is their current auditors. This is their most recent audit report. And an extremely, this is an extremely well-known, highly regarded auditing company. So this is Hut 8's auditors, their most recent report. So that's not what I meant to click on, but that's why I had that in the background. Let me find, I did pull up Hut 8's response today. Was very, very brief. Like I said, it was really just a response letting us know that they were going to respond.
I just think it's awesome that the short report came out. Like they're celebrating, high-fiving, and
All right, welcome to Talkin Investing.
Who, the short reporters?
yeah. I was reading with like Frank Holmes wrote a big thing about, Jamie.
What?
And dude, this does affect people. I'm not gonna lie. I've had negative stuff come out about me, and it affects you deeply. That's why when something came out negative about me, I had something out. I had a video out within minutes, a day. It took a day. I know my company's not nearly as big as theirs, but I'm just letting you know I had something out quickly.
The real Gary Ginsler. In order to watch the Hut video, thanks for the super chat, by the way. In order to watch the Hut video, I need George to ask Sue questions. Bitcoin still dumping this weekend. And Nigel, the newest member of the Talkin Investing Squad.
Woo-hoo!
Nigel, thank you for joining. Much appreciated. There is a lot of content ready and waiting for you, just so that you know. In the members only section, there's a lot of videos, including recent deep dives on Hive, Bit Digital, Cypher, Stronghold, BitDeer. Those are all Bitcoin miners that are too small for main videos, but they're all in the members only section. And then a separate one on MicroStrategy as well, which is obviously very more than Bitcoin adjacent. They are the largest holder of Bitcoin of any publicly traded company that owns the Bitcoin. There are others who are custodians of more Bitcoin than that. So this is Hut's very brief response, and this really is a nothing response. I'll agree with that. Hut 8 is aware of a short report issued on January 18th by J Capital Research, which is self-proclaimed group of biased activists who clearly disclose that they will profit if a company's share price declines. Hut 8 is reviewing the report and will provide updates as the company deems appropriate. In the meantime, the company's management team and board of directors continues to have confidence in the merger of equals, the strength of the company's balance sheet, and the future success of the organization, and are committed to moving forward as a combined company to drive meaningful growth for shareholders. So, very, very brief statement. It does not respond to any specific point at all in this short report, but, I think it is, they are trying to point out, there's a lot of these short report companies. I tend not to care for them. That doesn't mean there's no place in this world for short reports. I just wish that there was a higher percentage of them that were high quality reporting. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, it's funny because they should have the chief meme officer, and they were picking on that poor kid. That was kind of crazy.
Right. They spent 2 pages and then a few other times picking on a little kid. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't know. We'll come back later because I think some people have had enough Hut. But we will come back because I do want to show you 2 specific things that I found to be highly questionable. One of which was more than highly questionable. I think it's ridiculous. So I'll let you guys decide. Let's just keep our eye on Bitcoin here because we did have a nice, from the middle of the day to, pretty much very close. We had a little sell off at the very end of the trading day today, but Bitcoin had a strong day today versus its recent. And when we take a look at the 1 day, Bitcoin did not break out to the downside. It really looked imminent. It looked last night after the market closed, it looked like we were almost certainly breaking to the downside. And it just didn't happen. And I'm going to go to that right now. Hold on. First, Crypto Fever. Thank you very much for the super chat. Tom, any updates on an interview with the Lord of Shine, Jason Less? Can it happen soon? And can it be tough questions? So I know there's definitely, Jason is the next person everybody wants me to talk to. So I don't have that scheduled, but I will make that happen. I apologize to you guys. I know, at the end of last year, the beginning of this year with the Bitcoin ETF and, the halving and, reevaluating all the Bitcoin miners, I've been working overtime and I'm still not even getting done the things I want to get done. So these interviews are taking a little longer than I expected, but I will do the next round of interviews. And, obviously Sue's coming on next week to respond to that. And then I'll try to make Jason next. And there's a few others that have reached out that I just got to coordinate and lock down a time with and get done. Cleanspark. I've been talking to Cleanspark about coming back on, Bitfarms about coming back on. Maybe we can do a poll and see which interviews you guys are most interested in. Looking at George's poll right here. What's the next move for Bitcoin? Down to 35. Under 40, the same range, 40 to 42, going up to 45. Very split, George. Like this is like almost all equal.
And I think that's the way they want it.
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Yeah, they got us guessing. And this has been a common theme in our polls on the channel recently. There's very split. Not a lot of consensus on what's going on with Bitcoin. Really, any of the polls that we have. So I think they got everybody turned around a little bit.
Man, some people agreeing with what I'm saying, Tom. LB just said Bitcoin down to 32 to 34 in the next few weeks. If you look at the past charts, it's kind of what I said. Thank you, LB.
32 to 34.
You're my new best friend, though. I've been saying that. Tom's like, you're out of your mind. Sorry. Just picking on you, Tom.
I've been talking about, my line's at 37,885, call it 38,000. So we'll go to the 1 day and look at that. I do think in fact, last night we did a kind of an emergency stream. I really thought, we were a half an hour. It was like, It was there. And then it didn't happen. It was incredible. And when you see how unbelievably close we were, let's go there right now and take a look. But I did want to ask everybody to smash the like button. We're only at 225 likes. So if you could be so kind as to smash the like button, it does help the stream out in real time.
George, man, look at the 24-hour Tether volume. They did $43 billion in 24 hours. Bitcoin did $19 billion. That's insane.
Tether?
Yeah.
Well, that's
a beast.
They've taken over. They are the stablecoin market.
Yeah.
Second place is now. We'll take a quick look at that because it's this. I found this very surprising. Tether's $94 billion, almost $95 billion. At number 7, so I don't really count I know they have market caps, but they're stable coins. They're pegged to the dollar. They're worth $1, but USDC is now at 25 million. These two were basically on par, very close to on par with each other, just prior to the FTX situation. USDC, it was actually the, what was that bank? There was a bank that went under right before the FTX situation.
SVB.
Yes. They had some money in there. Everybody panicked that maybe they were going to lose their money, and that started the descent of USDC, and it has not stopped. Tether's good. Tether's a stone's throw away from being quadruple the market cap of USDC, which I find staggering. And by the way, there is no third place. So this is your stablecoin universe, and it's Tether's world. It's their universe. They own it. I don't know how it happened, but that's what happened. Leland, thank you for the super chat. Mara's business relies on 2 essentially bankrupt entities. This is very concerning. What are your thoughts? Let me get to that. I want to read Clive's first, and then I'll get back. Clive, thank you for the super chat. Are there certain words I cannot use in super chat? YouTube does. Yes, that is true.
Oh, really?
I don't know what the list is, but YouTube will automatically, we never even see them. YouTube will just disappear anything they think is inappropriate, and we have no control or veto power over that.
I've already vetoed a couple of the statements from a few people.
Oh, you've also vetoed some?
Yeah. So I don't think that's 100% true. I think you get, I mean, there's like a few words, I'm sure. Like,
well, just so that you know, George, this is the first day you've ever done that. And
ready? Beep, 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 and beep. Sorry.
And which one? And there's 2 more, right?
Yeah.
Beep.
Yeah.
So
Trump. I won't say that.
Okay, so George also has control of the helm, so
yeah.
He may be knocking some out, but I do know that YouTube will knock certain things out, and there's nothing we can do about it.
You guys are too funny. You make me laugh.
Did you knock anything Clive said out, George?
No, I knocked. I don't want to bring it back up. There was some other person, okay. And everybody who's in the chat knows who it was.
All right.
He had some other comments, but I just got rid of him.
All right.
He's gone now. The guy's gone now. I'm sure.
For moderating the chat.
I don't want to say what I want to say, but
I think. Clive. Thank you for the super chat. Clive said, "Getting an error message not sent. Edit and resend."
Oh, you can send it to me on Discord. I'll send it. I'll put it up. I don't care.
Okay, that's a good. If you guys got a workaround, you can do that. I don't know. I guess we'll find out once you see it, George. You'll see if it's something that looks like maybe the thing's kicking out.
Maybe it's a good time to talk about Discord real quick before you get into all this, since we've already got sidetracked.
Yes, we have. And then I'm going to get back to, I don't want to skip over Leland. So we have 2 Discords. We have a public Discord, which is free, so you guys are welcome to join that. We also have a members-only Discord. So we do have a membership on the channel. It's only $5 a month. It's probably the cheapest membership out there. And we do a members-only live stream every Tuesday after the market closes. So just a couple of benefits. There are a bunch of benefits to being a member. First of all, we appreciate it. It helps support the channel. We're a very small channel. So it's much appreciated.
All right.
And secondly, we every single week we do a members only live stream every Tuesday after the market closes. We also have a bunch of deep dive videos, 50 or more deep dive videos in the members only library. A lot of those, like I mentioned, are deep dives, recent deep dives on Bitcoin miners, and all type of other mostly small cap, high growth companies. Every once in a while, we do something outside of that. And we have a members-only Discord. So I know that George is extremely active in the members-only Discord, and we have, I believe, a very, very high-level conversation going on in there. I think that's, worth it all by itself. So I know, George, you keep a close eye on that as well.
No, there's some really, we learn a lot too. And that was the other thing. This is what's really cool about our investment channel. That is an investment. It is information. We want to give you information so you make educated decisions. And I think that's what bothers me about like that whole thing with HUT is that, we got information that they should have known about and had very good answers for, I think quickly. And I mean, if you bring up that whole thing with a Niagara and then you start talking about the specifics, you're not going to get any answer on that. You know what I mean? And I think those are the things that kind of bother me. And so, but I'm just saying, You know, that's why I really love doing this, is because you guys, you give you meaning the members give some of the best information you could ever possibly imagine.
We do get fantastic.
And
Listen, our members are high quality, and we get a lot of good. So that's the best part about being a member and being in a group.
well, and here's the other thing too. Look at the poll right now, Tom. You got to pull this up because this blows my mind.
Yeah, your next move for Bitcoin poll.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super close. So in the lead,
Yeah.
so we're starting to see a little bit of a move to the upside. So in first place is up to 45,000 or over at 29%. In second place is hanging out between 40 and 42,000, where it's been right now at 28%. So those two are almost a tie. And they've pulled a little bit ahead, under 40,000, 22%, down to 35,000, 21%. So
it's impressive.
over 40% think we're going under 40,000, and we're on the brink of that. Listen, I was one of those people last night. I thought that was going to happen by 8 or 9 o'clock last night, and I'm very surprised that it didn't. So we'll get back and look at the 1-day chart and see what's going on.
I think Tether saved us, by the way.
Yeah, so Tether was buying Bitcoin, and we looked at an article briefly on that. So, maybe them coming in and buying some Bitcoin. Who knows who else came in? And there is a net inflow. So with I know there's been a lot of uncertainty surrounding the Bitcoin ETFs, but I do have a chart that I want to bring up that, there has been an inflow, even with the massive amount that Grayscale is selling off. And it's a big sell-off, and I don't think it's anywhere near done. But the other Bitcoin miners have been absorbing all of that and then some. So, the value of the amount of Bitcoin in the Bitcoin miners is increasing. There's a net inflow of Bitcoin, and we're only a week into this, but, even with, so I think the first week will be, from the Grayscale perspective specifically, the first week's probably going to be the worst week because of the pent-up demand of people that wanted to get the heck out of there. They've had their chance to get out. And that doesn't mean I think they're done. I think there will be a steady flow of people exiting the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. I do think a lot of those people will move their money into Bitcoin. And I want to talk about some other gigantic pools of money that haven't even started to move into Bitcoin yet that I think are on the way. So that's why I still remain extremely bullish on Bitcoin for 2024. I think they've really scared the heck out of us. I don't know that the pain is gone in the short term by any means. So, I would still say, well, let's go to the 1 day. That's what we've been talking about. And then let's just look. So I'm going to make this line bigger because this is the line that I thought was going to get destroyed. So I just made a larger, whatever color this is, some type of, how about sky blue? So this blue line here, this was the close. So you can see it. This is the 1 day time frame for Bitcoin. So you can see a daily candle close back on December 11th. So that was well over a month ago now. That low, we closed at $41,229 and change. Every single daily candle close between December 11th and now has been above that. Yesterday, I was absolutely convinced we were going to break out of that to the downside. And I'll show you why. If you look, I'm really zooming in because look at this line. So that number, remember, is 41,229. So here's yesterday's daily candle close. So as we did the live stream yesterday, we were down here, right? We were below this and we were closing in on the end of the day on the candle close. So it started to move up as we were on the live stream. It started to move in the other direction. And then by the time the whole thing was over and the daily candle closed, the official close here was 41,293. So that's, what? $60. So you can see, I mean, the bottom of this candle, which is the close, is almost exactly on this line. So it ran all the way back up, held this support, and now today, barring something unusual, we're still an hour and a half away from the daily candle close. So I don't want to make any assumptions because we saw yesterday there was a reversal that surprised me, but it looks like today this is going to hold and we're going to have a green candle today. So that's I think why we have such a lack of consensus on where Bitcoin is going, because it just feels like the pressure's downward. For starters, let me just move this a little bit. From the peak, and one thing, I should go to the 15-minute. I'm going to do this very quickly and just show you guys on the 15-minute because so this move up to $49,000, you'll see this 15-minute candle went above, this 15-minute candle opened and closed above, and the next 15-minute candle went below. So, it was maybe an hour and a half right here that we were in this range before we broke back under 48. So this last $1,000 was a flash, whatever the opposite of a flash crash is. We flashed up for, an hour and undid that. But nonetheless, we did get to that point. So from the peak until really the today we went even lower before we turned around. That's 18% pullback. So we've always talked about, 20% pullbacks are pretty typical for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. In fact, they're mild. We've seen plenty of Bitcoin historically has seen a lot of 30 to 35% pullbacks. In 2023, a year where Bitcoin was up 150%, we did see 20 to 25% pullbacks. So we've been waiting for the next one of these. I don't know. This is an 18% pullback from a top that was kind of a flash and a bottom, that didn't last long either. And it's still not quite 20%. So to me, that's why I think everybody's still worried there's more room to the downside. It just doesn't feel like we got that full capitulation move to the downside. But I don't know. This held so strong. If we look at the other thing I've been keeping my eye on is the daily RSI, which has been for anywhere from overbought territory to over 50, which is neutral, for a long time. You have to go all the way back to October 15th was the last time we were under 50 on the daily RSI. And then, this mark here in the mid 40s goes all the way back to September 12th. I will tell you, today, we are right now at 43. Earlier in the day, we had momentum to the downside. This was at 38. So I was even more so convinced today. All of this green activity is late in the day today. This was a red candle for most of the day, even going into halfway through the trading day. And the RSI was down into the 30s for the first time. The last time the daily RSI was in the 30s was here, September 11th. So, that's coming up on 4 months ago. That's a long time. So, but now it turned back around. So now we're in the mid 40s again. So this is what's making it very difficult to figure out what's coming next. So I still think it's fair to say, to beware the line that, well, let's not go from there. That's not where we are right now. The line that I've been looking at, that we've been talking about on the channel, we're only 9% away from hitting this $38,000 line. That's not a big move. That could happen over the weekend. That could happen on any given day. George has talked about maybe getting down to, there's a line here at around 35.5. So, that would be about a 15% move from here. And we see some people talking about points even below that. So a full 20% move from where we are would be somewhere around just over $33,000. So to your point, George, and whoever was talking in the chat with you, there's that 20% move from where we are right now. But from the top, that would be, that would be a 32% move, which also happens, that is not abnormal for Bitcoin. So it's not like that would signal a trend reversal and all of a sudden we'd be, bearish. We're definitely a year plus into, bullish momentum for Bitcoin. So even a 32% pullback, I don't think would reverse that from a technical standpoint.
Well, I'm waiting till the halving because that's when it's game on. Personally, that's what I think. Not financial advice.
You think Bitcoin's going to run after the halving?
Yes.
So that would be, I think I got a chart open somewhere here. Maybe not. What happened? Well, I had a chart open.
I was...
Switch to the one.
Woo! 70% is DCA next week into the market. 109 people voted.
Oh, we got a new poll.
Yeah.
Are
you guys going to dollar cost average into Bitcoin miners next week?
So
70% yes.
70% yes, 30% no. So we do have a lot of people still buying. I did buy a little bit myself today. I've been very, very slow. I've adjusted the amount. I've slowed my pace, but I am still buying. So I bought a couple of things today. And there was a big buying opportunity this morning, right? Everything ended up in a great place here. Well, I won't say a great place, but in a much better place comparatively. If you look,
$500 up, Tom.
it's
God.
it's it's all relative. Remember what you were down at 11 o'clock this morning.
Oh, I know. Dude, they almost had me, guys. They almost had me.
This is how they get, now you end up feeling like I just said, wow, it was a great day. We're hanging around. Bitfarms was up 0.5%. Hut was down. Hive was up 1/3%. Cleanspark down 0.1. Riot down 0.4. Marathon was red 0.3. But, these are 0 or 1 or 2% moves with the big miners. The smaller miners had some bigger moves. TeraWulf had a nice move to the upside, 5.3%. That's one of the medium-sized miners. Gree is a nano cap stock. It moved up 6%. BitDigital 2, BitDeer 3. So it was a pretty neutral day, but to see even just to see some green, it's been days and days and days. It's actually been weeks. So, it wasn't really a great day for the Bitcoin miners, but it feels like a decent day based on where we were earlier in the day. And if you go to, whoop, not that.
So you're going to ask Sue if she can ring your bell? Is that the thing because she rang the bell the other day? Is that the...
I will not say that.
Can you ring my bell?
So you can see the first half of the trading day today, Bitcoin was down about 2.7%. So this was one of those like half day one way, right? We were straight down, and this is where it looked like things were going to get ugly. And then all of a sudden, boom, straight up for hours. So, this was a tale of 2 days. This morning, down in this area here, this did not feel good. And these guys were big time red again. I bought some Marathon in the 14s today. I mean, I can't believe we got there. Darren, thanks for the super chat. Darren said, today marks 3 months pre-halving. All previous cycles, precisely 90 days pre-halving, marked the phase 2 bottom. So
nice.
That is a day to celebrate then. So 90 days, 3 months. And we're going to see. So that's another reason, with those 3 months, the uncertainty I guess uncertainty is the wrong word, but the fear around the halving for the Bitcoin miners. For Bitcoin, it's a different story. The Bitcoin, it's been pretty tried and true, and nothing is guaranteed. But the halving is the 6 months or year after the halving have been great, great, great things every single cycle so far. But we're still very early. This is only our 4th cycle, so I think we're going to have a similar result this time, but that's not financial advice and none of us know the future, but every indication looks like it's behaving similarly and we're set to have another really nice run post halving. We've actually moving, really nicely prior to the halving here. We'll see what the last 90 days bring, prior to the halving, and then, we'll see. But I do think, I think we're going to, I will still say, and this is just my personal opinion, I do think Bitcoin will hit a new all-time high in 2024. So our previous all-time high was, I think, November 8th or something like that of 2021. So I think, I think we're going to hit that. I think we're going to take that out this year. That's my opinion.
Woo! I'm getting ready for a new poll, guys.
Oh, I see what's going on here.
What?
I'm in the chat, but I'm not really in the chat.
Oh, you're seeing yourself and it's messing with you?
Yeah, I'm like, what did I say here?
Did I say that?
I remember saying that, but so apparently somebody did a video or talked about, and I did not see this, but to go back to way back, so many super chats came up in a row. Mara's business relies on 2 essentially bankrupt entities. This is very concerning. What are your thoughts? So I will tell you, I did not see whatever that was. And my initial thought to this is
CompuNorth is one of them.
So, all right. I mean, so it's Compute North. I don't know. Maybe I don't know who the other one is. Are they?
I don't know who it is either.
Are they of course Scientific, which is coming out of Chapter 11? I don't know. Let us know who those two are. And the reason, I'll tell you, I try to pay attention to what are they actually doing, right? This is a company that has performed. And in 2022, it's not like I'm in the tank for Marathon. And for those of you who have been on the channel a long time, you will know, like, when I thought that 2022, let's face it, it was a brutal year for Marathon. They did not do any of the things in the time frame that they said they were going to do them. Now, there was a lot of external variables, but they're the ones who chose an asset-light model, right? So as a result of that, they had to rely on a lot of partners, maybe some of which you're talking about right here. So in 2022, they didn't get to where they were going when they were supposed to. But I said all along, the one thing that will change my mind, and I know a lot of people argued with me and said I was being too lenient, even though it was weird. In 2022, 50% of the people were like, why do you hate Marathon so much? You're a hater. And then the other half of the people were like, how come you love Marathon? Why do you give Marathon a pass on everything? So all I can tell you is I just was reading their monthly operational reports and going through what they did. And my biggest issue with them was they continued to say month after month, we're going to do X. And then they didn't do it. And then the next month they would say, we're going to do X. And then they didn't do it again. And that was at least 12 months in a row. But with each one of those, I said, if they can get to where they're going, even if it's later than it's supposed to be, if they can get there and perform the way they're talking about, they're going to be one of the winners, in my opinion. And subsequent to that, in 2023, they did get there. And their mining results in December, they were not just great. I mean, they were out of this world. That was, if there's something above an A+, Marathon's December operational update was an A+ or better. They mined over 1,800 Bitcoin. They had the highest level of efficiency for the first time ever. They're usually in the middle of the pack or near the bottom of the pack. And they were at the top that month. Now, I think I did talk about, I think there were some reasons that was a little bit of an anomaly. I'm not expecting that every single month, but it does seem like they've gotten themselves competitive with everybody else, and to scale, they're the biggest miner. And to go to, whatever their business relationships are, they just made the first gigantic step into getting out of this asset light model and relying on business partners like this. 3% of their operations are self-hosted. So with the deal they just made, that is a path to get them from 3% to 45%. That's a drastic change in their business model. So I think that is addressing whatever this issue is. And they went past that to say, it's their goal to, get, somewhere near 100%. They officially have abandoned asset light. They talked about it. They said that got them from point A to point B, but that is no longer what they're going to be doing in the future. They're now going to build out their own infrastructure, and in certain ways, from a computing standpoint, they're vertically integrated in ways that other people aren't. But from a physical hardware and hosting and all that stuff, they were less vertically integrated. It did cost them time. It costs them money. They pay for that. So they are changing that model. So I'm bullish on Marathon. That's, again, it's not financial advice. I'm adding to my Marathon position is smaller than my other positions, and I'm adding to it. And I like what they're doing, and I like the shift for those reasons, because it costs them, it's costing them money, and it's always better. The more vertically integrated you are, the more you're in control of what you're doing, the less things that can go wrong, and the more ability, if they do go wrong, for you to in-house be able to address them and fix them in a timely manner, which is crucial, which leads to a higher uptime, right? So all that puts a lot of those things back inside of their control. They're moving towards that. But I will also say, that's not flipping a switch. They're not going to get there tomorrow. So that will take time for them to get where some others already are. Just want to scroll down. Clive, thank you very much for the super chat. Much appreciated. Clive said, Tom, how much emphasis do you place on assessing the company's levered and unlevered free cash flow? I mean, with Bitcoin mining companies, that is a very tricky equation. For me, I do my own hybrid calculation of what I consider to be cash flow positive, and that's really about paying the bills and keeping the lights on and not running out of cash and not going out of business. So that is my big focus. So, stripping out the non-cash items, I like to see that a company can generate the cash gross profit to pay their overhead, and if they have interest, to pay their interest. Those are their cash things from operations. Everything else outside of operations, there's more flexibility, right? If there's a lot of CapEx coming, you can turn that off if things aren't going well, and not spend that money. Now, if you're leveraged and there's debt and you have interest and principal, to me, that's very concerning. And I talked about that. That was one of the things that I looked at, that, having that debt service is just brutal, is going to be brutal post-halving for, I think, any Bitcoin miner. And the exception that I would draw to that is Marathon. All of their numbers are skewed because their debt is really convertible debt. It's 1%, and they're scaled up to a point where it's insignificant versus what a lot of these other companies, the equation that a lot of these other companies are looking at. So it's going to be all about cash. I mean, this is going to be all about cash to pay the bills. And I don't look at free cash flow to the extent, can we pay for CapEx? I have accepted the fact that the Bitcoin miners will be diluting, you know, until further notice. Particularly at this time, a lot of these companies have made huge announcements. A couple companies are essentially replacing the vast majority of their entire fleet with newer, later, and greater machines. And so that's going to be a lot of CapEx. It's going to be a lot, and they're going to get that through stock dilution. Operations for me are for just that. They need to be able to generate cash to pay for their operations. If they can't do that, and they're in, and especially if they're a smaller market cap company, their ability to generate, they're not going to get debt. They're going to have to do stock dilution, and it's going to cause, the potential death spiral, particularly if there's a lot of debt on there. There's some companies that have more debt than market cap, right? To me, that's an equation that is not good. That's trouble that I'm not sure some of these companies are going to be able to get out of. Now, we'll have to see. Anything can happen over time. So it looks like we're like 2/3, 1/3 on the dollar cost averaging.
Well, I'm waiting for the full moon, guys, on Friday, just so you guys know. That's when I'm going to start. The full moon. The full moon, like always. New moon was the dump. Full moon.
The full moon's going to be a pump.
I'm hoping. Not spiritual advice.
Wes, I just happened to glance and see, asked Tom, any word on when the accounting change takes effect? So I think the accounting change takes effect at the end of 2024, but also I do believe you are allowed early adoption on that. So I expect there's 4 or 5 companies that will be early adopters of the change in accounting rules on how you account for Bitcoin on your balance sheet. There's only a handful of companies that this matters for currently. The more important piece is this change in accounting, I think, is going to make it easier for a lot of other institutions to start to accumulate Bitcoin because they don't have to account for it in such a negative, almost penalized type of way. And the change is really simple. The way that Bitcoin has been accounted for on balance sheets is as the equivalent of an intangible asset, goodwill type of stuff. And so it has to get marked down. If it's decreased in value, it has to get marked down to that value. So it has to get marked down. So, when Bitcoin hit its lows, there are a lot of companies. So even MicroStrategy, a lot of their Bitcoin is on their books for $15,500 because you have to write it down as Bitcoin goes down, but you do not get to write it up, market to market as Bitcoin goes up. So that has been the accounting treatment up until now. However, that is going to change. It is going to become more like all the other traditional investments, which makes sense. And, this change is overdue, in my opinion. You're going to get to market at its value. So, there will be a few companies that are going to have a quarter that's absolutely out of this world. MicroStrategy is going to be one of them. They're going to have one quarter where they make billions and billions and billions of dollars of net income. I think more than they've made cumulatively in the history of their whole company by a lot is all going to happen in one quarter when they adopt this accounting policy. Now, don't get too excited. It's all already built into the price of the stock, but from GAAP purposes, from a financial statement reporting purposes, that's going to hit. And I do think that's going to be just one of many pieces. I don't know that any companies on that alone are going to go, oh, great, the accounting rules have changed. Let's buy Bitcoin now. But I think it's just another part of the puzzle that allows companies to take a look at Bitcoin and say, okay, let's start to maybe there's a lot of companies that have a massive amount of
All right,
money
welcome to
on their
Talkin'
balance
Investing.
sheet. So even just putting, 1 or 2 or 3 or 5% of your money in Bitcoin or even a basket of cryptocurrencies, I think is something that companies will start to do over time. Particularly, it will almost certainly start with, no, it will certainly start with Bitcoin and, maybe spread from there. But this rule change, I do think, is one of the things that will help. Scott Richardson, welcome. Welcome to the Talkin' Investing Squad. Thank you for joining.
Hey, Scott. Yeah. Well,
Much
hello.
appreciated.
XRP. I am waiting for XRP to get below 30 cents. I still think it's coming. I said 22 a long time ago, and you guys thought I was retard. I might have been that day.
You said how
Oh wait,
much?
I can't say that word anymore, can I? I'm sorry. I'm gonna get blacklisted. I'm sorry.
Just don't say it in the chat or you'll
Yeah.
knock
No,
yourself
I
out.
still think that XRP is gonna retest lows. I really do. I've been saying it for forever. If it gets below, I'm averaged in at 33 cents. So, it's at 54. What is it? 54 right now? 55, something like that. Yeah,
Let's
54.7.
54.7.
I mean, I built out my position. I know it's weird, but I built out my position. I don't even really look at it anymore. It could be. I wish I would have sold it. When it was almost 85 cents or whatever.
But I think that was your plan, George. So I would commend you
Yeah,
for sticking to the plan. Your plan was to build out a position, set it, forget it, and come back to it, years
it's
later when it's done what it's supposed to do.
it's so much easier, especially in stocks in any other crypto, when you're ahead and you don't have to think about it. Because that's all I want to do is just get ahead, so I don't need to think about it. Like, because it takes too much of my time and my mental. You know what I mean? Because like Tom, let's be honest, I totally. If this was old George, I would have been out of all these stocks right in the beginning. And I miss old George because this thing went down and 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 down. And I didn't think it was
Well,
going to do that. I thought it would go down like once or twice, but this was an absolute beatdown on these Bitcoin miners. I mean, they got it to a point where I was calling up the banker to see if I could get more money because I was down so much. And I mean, this hurt. Like,
this
I
was
mean,
rough.
we're high fiving. You know what I mean? We're celebrating. But the only thing that's really good about this that I can see is it was such a violent move down that I think it's going to be a violent move up. That's just my gut feeling. Again, not financial advice, but it just seems like they came after it hard because they know after the halving they're not going to be able to do this anymore.
This is what's happened in the last, I'll call it 3 weeks of trading. So if I just put this together in minutes here before the stream, this is updated through the end of the close of today. So you can see, I mean, most of the Bitcoin miners are down, call it 50 to 55% in 3 weeks. That's a beatdown.
Yeah, this was a beatdown.
Right? Riot's down was 45, Marathon's down 48, Cleanspark's down 49%. All while Bitcoin's down 4%, by the way. So it feels like we've had massive volatility, but we'll go back to the one day. Bitcoin has been in a very tight range. We're at the bottom of that range right now. We're down 4%, but 4% of Bitcoin should not equal, 50% in, CleanSpark. Bitfarms is down 40% of the, actually Core Scientific is in the lead, down 27%, and that's more information has come out on them coming out of Chapter 11 very soon, and people have reacted positively to that. But even with that positive reaction, they're down 27% in the time that Bitcoin's down 4%, and that's by far in first place. So, there's not many places to hide on this chart right here. These are the 19 that we talk about on this channel. They're not the entire universe. There are some other micro cap or nano cap stocks out there that that we don't follow, but this is 19 of them. It makes up 99% of the total market cap of all Bitcoin miners publicly traded. And this is what happened. I mean, this was brutal.
I'm thinking about starting to write short reports, though, Tom. I'm not going to lie.
You think there's money in that?
Yeah, heck yeah.
Could be.
I don't know why people don't give out their like promotional supplies anymore. They make you buy them. It's like let me run out and buy stuff from Hut 8. I want to get a baseball hat.
It's selling merch. That's the new thing.
Yeah, it's like, is someone gonna buy that, dude? Oosh.
I don't think they're selling a lot of that.
No,
Crypto Fever,
give it away.
Crypto Fever is saying, Tom, if we're down 18% from the top, today's low, then most miners should be down 54%. I just want to comment on that. The thing is, the Bitcoin miners started to move down long before we went up to the top of our range. So the Bitcoin miners were already on the move down. So yes, Bitcoin, there was a period of time where Bitcoin was going up and the Bitcoin miners were going down. So the Bitcoin miners didn't peak up at 49,000. So had the Bitcoin miners peaked at 49,000, then we would have had a big move to the upside. And that 54% down would leave them at much higher numbers than they are today. So we're disproportionately down compared to where Bitcoin is. Because, right, we didn't participate in that gigantic run up. As Bitcoin ran from 42,000 to 49,000, the Bitcoin miners went down. So to do your math, Marathon should have gone from 31 to 40 and then pulled back 50% down to 20. So that's why I'm saying it's been, we didn't get to participate in that upside. That's part of why, the numbers look like they look.
I know what to do to really mess with Hut. It's really sad.
But
I shouldn't even tell you guys.
what are you thinking, George? Well, you don't want to say it?
No, I don't want to say it because I'm probably going to do it. There's power in the camera.
Well, what we skipped, we said we were going to do, we were going to do a poll on who we want to interview next.
Oh, yeah, let's do it. I'm going to end this poll. If you're done voting, I'll end it in 30 seconds. Stupid. You guys are so funny. Okay, I'm ending it.
Poll
One
ended.
more vote. Any?
Going.
We got one more. One more. Another one.
Wait for it.
Anyone? Got another one. Oh, then they took it back. Oh, got another one. Another one. Okay, I'm ending it. Oh, can we get to 120? I'm gonna end it. Mix. Nobody is a Maximus on Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin only 8%. Wow.
People are looking for leverage.
So what's my next poll? Who to interview?
Yes. I'll let you pick whatever you think if you guys want to drop some in the chat.
Well,
who do we want to hear from? Who do we want to talk to?
Well, obviously Jason Riot is going to be in there. I'll just put in.
While you're doing that, this news came out today. So we know a couple of days ago, BlackRock passed $1 billion. And now Fidelity's ETF trust, or not trust, BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF has now passed the $1 billion mark. So that's two of the ETFs that are over $1 billion. Technically, obviously, Grayscale is way over $1 billion, but they are on the way down. So let me go to, I went to Grayscale's website. There's a lot of numbers floating around out there, and I think these are 1 day behind. I believe this is as of yesterday. Grayscale, so this is right from their own website. Their total Bitcoin in trust is now down to 581,000 Bitcoin. So I think they were over 620,000 Bitcoin at the peak, which was obviously the immediately before it switched to an ETF. So it looks like based on the information from their website, they've already gotten rid of 40,000 Bitcoin as of yesterday. And I don't know how many Bitcoin they got rid of today. So, this is a lot of what people are looking at and talking about. There is an outflow. I don't think we're anywhere near done with Bitcoin leaving here. But with that said, let me find this other chart if I could. Okay. So you can see this, and I think this was this was through yesterday as well. So you can see, if you look at Grayscale, they've had $2.2 billion of outflow. But if you go to the other side here, BlackRock's had $1.2 billion of inflow of Bitcoin since it started the trust. And again, remember, that was just, last week. Fidelity has now crossed $1 billion. Bitwise is just under 400 million, so they probably crossed that today. ARK Invest is at 320 million. So the net, even after Grayscale losing 2.2 billion in Bitcoin outflow, there's still a net inflow of $1.1 billion overall into the ETFs, according to this schedule, in really the first week. So it's the rest of the ETFs have been able to absorb all of what's leaving Grayscale and then some. So I think this is a very encouraging sign. This is massive amount of, inflow in a short period of time. But like we just looked at, Grayscale still has 580,000 Bitcoin prior to whatever they got rid of today. So, there could be many months of Bitcoin leaving. I do think the pace will slow down, right? The people that really want it out, a lot of them have probably made their move, but I'm not suggesting that it's done by any means. Sour Melon Gaming said, Tom, the streams have been doing very well lately. Tons of viewers now. I still remember when we only had 30 to 40 people on these. Very proud.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sour Melon Gaming, and thanks also to George as well. We did run through a lot of these, and you know what? When there was 30 or 40 people, that was great too. But obviously, it's nice to have a bigger reach. And one of the things is, the more people that learn about Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners, obviously everybody's gonna make their own investment decisions, but just this is showing there's a lot more interest out there than there was. Obviously, it's good for, our channel starting to grow a little bit, but I think it's more so that interest in the Bitcoin miners and Bitcoin is growing. So just to go, let me find this. this is revisiting some old news, but I'm doing this for a reason. This was on January 3rd. Crypto investment firm Matrixport put out a report. Remember this? The SEC is likely to reject a spot Bitcoin ETF and send prices crashing by 20%. So this is where, we were talking at the time, always beware. What I had said at the time is, I don't know who Matrixport is, but there was only one person that knew as to whether or not the SEC was going to approve these ETFs, and actually a small group of people inside of the SEC, but led by Gary Gensler. So all these people that speculated, when somebody says it was likely, right? Apparently it wasn't likely because they were 100% wrong. Not only did they not reject them, they approved all of them. So this is just, a lot of times these things pass by and we never revisit. This is why I always say, just be careful, even whether it's something that I'm saying or something that you see from another YouTuber, or even, this is an investment firm. So you go, oh, well, they know what they're talking about. Well, no, they didn't know what they were talking about. Right? I think it's fair to say that this was not likely, since the complete exact opposite of this happened. So this is FUD. I called it FUD when it came out, and that didn't mean that I knew that they were going to be accepted, the Bitcoin spot ETFs. What I knew was, we don't know yet. We don't know until there's a ruling, until we find out. So, articles like this they scare a lot of retail investors out, and it's the purpose of these articles, in my opinion. And whether it's the purpose or not, it's certainly the result of these types of articles. So, here's Goldman Sachs, and, this was January 12th. So this was last Friday. Bitcoin is for people who want to pretend they're in Vegas, and the ETFs don't make the coin a legit investment, Goldman Sachs wealth management strategy chief says. So obviously Goldman Sachs is one of the largest players in all of this, but Goldman Sachs doesn't have their own Bitcoin ETF. So you'll notice places like Vanguard and Goldman Sachs that aren't participating in the upside to this are trashing it. So I just always, for all this kind of stuff, everything should be taken with a grain of salt, and at the end of the day, it's really about your own due diligence. On the flip side of FUD, we have things like this. ARK's Kathy Wood says Bitcoin ETF approval will send the token to $1.5 million by 2030. So, you've got stuff on both sides. You've got people, overwhelmingly bullish. You've got people, overwhelmingly bearish. There's just this is a part of the new world, I guess, and I haven't adjusted to it. Maybe I never will. It's information overload. They throw so much stuff, and I use the term information loosely. It's, we're getting a lot of noise sent our way. And, so filtering it all out and figuring out what's important and what's accurate and all that stuff, it gets harder and harder the more noise there is out there. So, we try to filter it down, but obviously, that was still through our own opinions as well. And you guys contribute through your opinions. So
I used to say crypto. I see Crypto Fever. I got to write this to him. I'll do noon tomorrow again in the chat. That was fun last time. But I have my little abbreviation for crypto. You want to know what it is? If you don't have it, you're going to cry because you have paid time off. Get it? Paid time off. Did I lose you, Tom?
paid time off.
You're going to cry if you don't have any. And if you do have some, it's paid time off. PTO.
PTO is going over
Cry.
my head.
The first three are cry. Crypto.
Oh. I guess
You'll
I'm a
cry
little
if you
slow.
don't. Right, you'll cry if you don't have any, because if you do have it, it's paid time off.
The nation's debt is overwhelmingly spiraling out of control. 34 trillion reasons as to why they will continue to monetize the debt and print insane amounts of money. Bitcoin can be higher than 1.5 million. That is from Crypto Fever. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. I have very high price targets in the future. I was pointing out there's people on both sides of the equation. But yes, I mean that's the spiraling debt. I think we're going to move into lowering interest rates, although that has got the market has now priced in that's gotten pushed off from March to May. So we'll have to see what actually happens, but that's what the market is pricing in. And that's one of the reasons that the dollar has gotten stronger a little bit again, and cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin has been struggling. It's one of many reasons. So, there's a lot of short-term things going on.
I have a question, Tom, since we're kind of winding down right now. How many this is good. This is going to be a good question.
Let's hear it.
How many of the other because I just read this. It says, Tom, take a look at Rex finance report on Marathon. Even if it's 50% right, I would exercise caution before buying. But so here's my question. How many people, and I'm not saying this is to Rex or anybody, I'm saying on YouTube, how many people do you think are on YouTube that work for hedge funds, or, you know what I mean, directly or indirectly, to push out their narrative that they want to push out? And I'm not talking about Rex. I'm just talking in general.
I don't know. I think that's a fair question. I would be randomly guessing. Here's what I would think. I think there's a lot more people in the comments section across all of social media than necessarily maybe content creators. But there could very well be content creators as well, for all we know. The hard part is, well, and I guess, if a big company wants a content creator's channel to blow up, they can make it happen. So,
well, because I'm just looking at and I don't mind I don't mind promoting it. I'll even share the link. It doesn't bother me any.
Rex is the guy that you met at the Bitcoin conference that was talking to Matt from Cleanspark.
Oh, is he really?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Wow. I reserve my comments. That's all I'll say.
Enough said.
Listen, if you guys are come to Discord tomorrow, I will tell you what I said. And I would be more than happy to share that with you. And it turned out to be correct, what I said to Tom. Isn't that funny? It was confirmed to you too, indirectly. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
You know exactly right. So if you guys want to hear, so I don't know I don't know if that's I don't know if that's a biased opinion or an unbiased opinion from Rex.
I don't know. I do try to watch some other YouTubers just to see what people are talking about. I know Rex's channel because we did see him at an event. Which company? Cleanspark. He's done like a lot of videos pro Cleanspark. I thought he did videos. I haven't seen any of his videos in a year or two, but I don't know. I don't know what he did on Marathon. I mean, I suppose if you guys want to take a look, you can take a look.
Well, I mean, he did a thing 2 years ago on it about the same. It's basically the same video because he's citing to it now. You know.
For me, you can listen. It's a video. You can watch it, but I would take it with the same grain of salt you take with any other video you watch, including my own. Right? It shouldn't supersede your own due diligence. That's true of everybody's videos, including mine.
I
Right?
think he must be, this guy must be talking to you, Tom.
What did they say?
Josh said, thanks for the info. I've been listening to you for a couple of days. You also sound like the rabbi off of Seinfeld. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
Oy vey. Sorry.
That's funny.
After 2 hours, I turned silly. Sorry. What is Tom? George, please tell Tom to talk about SoFi. Tom.
I mean, I haven't updated my due diligence on SoFi. I don't own SoFi. I know it's an extremely popular retail investor stock. I'm not in that, and I wouldn't, I mean, because I haven't done, I think I did do a video on that like a year ago, but I have not updated my due diligence. I knocked it off of my watch list. I came to a point a while ago where I just felt like it wasn't something I was going to invest in. So I just don't, there's nothing up to date that I could respond to on that. So sorry, but I have got nothing. Somebody said, hi, Sebastian. I don't know if Sebastian was on here. So hello to Sebastian if he was, or.
Wish everybody the best of luck in this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I'm out, Tom.
All right. Well, it seems like everybody's checked out early this Friday. So let's see what the results of this poll was.
Oh,
pretty close.
Wow. Yeah, really.
Really close. What was first and second?
Matt at CleanSpark at 40%. Jason Riot at 35%.
Okay. All right.
Hasta la vista.
Well, let's see what happens. Bitcoin's been holding inside a range. I'm just going to do 30-second wrap up. I mean, you can see we've been inside this box. Right? This is what we've been looking at from a daily candle close standpoint. You know, we've been inside of a tight range for over a month. Let's see what happens this weekend. It looked like yesterday we were going to break out to the downside. It didn't happen. So hoping we hold this weekend and move up, but we'll see what happens. Everybody have a great weekend. We will have, of course, our members only live stream on Tuesday, and I do a weekly update on the weekend of everything that happened with Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners. So you can look for that video to come out as well. Thank you very much to all the members. Thank you very much to all the subscribers. Thanks to everybody for showing up. And everybody enjoy your weekend. Have a great weekend.